UFC Vegas 89. This is obviously not a UFC 300 level card, but there's some fun fights that I'm really looking forward to. And, of course, and most importantly for most of you, there are some bets that I already have locked in. There are more that I'm waiting on that line to continue coming my way. And also, we're waiting on these props to hit. It's only Tuesday, so we're still early in the week. The props haven't dropped for most books yet. So, going to be really interested to see those hit. But let's get right into it, man. First fight of the night. Let's keep this streak going. If you stick around to the end of the video, we're going to be smoking that bookie pack yet again for 7 weeks in a row. We got a big hot streak going. Let's keep it going here. First fight of the night, we got Muhammad Usman taking on Mick Parkin. Big old heavyweight fight. Mick Parkin, a lot of people are really liking this guy. He's a decent prospect. I mean, 8-0, obviously pretty green. Only 28, so for a heavyweight, he's a baby. But, the guy's pretty well-rounded. He's obviously going to be the bigger guy here. But Usman makes up for this, obviously. Let's get it out of the way. This is Kamaru Usman's little brother, little big brother. Obviously, he's not the biggest heavyweight weight-wise or even frame-wise, but he's a freak athlete, ex-football player. Dude's obviously huge. He makes up with some of that and just being very explosive. I've seen a lot of people this week saying he doesn't hit hard. It's not that he doesn't hit hard. Now, do I think he hits as hard as maybe you would think when you see his build? Maybe not. But also, let's not forget, he's a big, explosive guy. If he hits you on the chin, you're probably going down. The only thing is, obviously, he's not the most technical of strikers. He really just likes to kind of, wing big bombs. If he doesn't land that, he needs to get on top of you, land some good ground and pound. Obviously not the most technical, not the most complete guy. I think Mick Parkin is going to be the minute winner here. I think he's just going to throw more volume on the feet as long as he doesn't get nuked and knocked out. And I don't really think Usman should be able to wrestle him too much. Maybe he lands a takedown or two, but I don't see him wrestling him for 2 of the 3 rounds at least. So, I'm going to pick Mick Parkin. I'm not going to bet him at chalk. I still am not a firm believer in this guy. I wasn't very impressed in his last performance. I was pretty sloppy, and I was kind of expecting more from him. But I am going to go Mick Parkin. I think he's the minute winner here, so I do think he should be a slight favorite. But wouldn't be shocked if Usman caught him and knocked him out. Wouldn't be shocked if he could get on top of him, ground and pound him. But I'm going to pick Mick Parkin. Better fighter. Slight favorite, as he should be. No bet on that one, though. Next fight, we got Igor Severino taking on Andre Lima. He's also called, it's Igor de Lima, right? Yeah, de Silva, that's right. So Severino or de Silva, definitely dangerous. Both these guys obviously undefeated, super young. Igor, 20. He started fighting at like 15, almost 21. Andre Lima, he is minus 185. So decent favorite, and he is, by the way, 25. So 25 and 21, basically. So really young. Both guys, obviously, only 15 fights combined. So we still don't know exactly where they're at, but we do know what they like to do. Lima, he is going to be the more technical, polished striker. He wants to kind of find his shots on the feet, a little bit more calculated. Igor, he just wants to maraud you, man. I mean, this is a flyaway fight, but these guys do push for finishes. Igor, especially, he just comes forward. He is there to be hit, so his defense not as sharp as Lima's, but he does have power, and I do think he's probably the better grappler here. I think he could mix in a couple takedowns. It's not like I think he's going to grapple him for 15 minutes, but I think he does have the grapple upside, especially when you see him as the underdog here. And I think the striking is going to be pretty competitive. I think Lima is probably the overall better striker. I mean, Igor, he's obviously got a lot to learn, but it is 125 and he's 20 years old. I mean, this dude's got plenty of time. I hope they don't push him too early. Obviously both these guys have so much time, but 20, 21 years old. I do think this is a fair fight. I think it's a pretty even fight, and I really think it's closer than the money line suggests. The only reason I haven't bet this fight yet is because I feel like people are still betting Lima. It seems like everybody's on Lima. And I do get that it's probably going to play out mostly on the feet. I think Lima is the better striker. So I get it, but I think this is 50-50. On paper, with him being 20 and a little bit more raw, with his talent's a little bit more raw, but so I get why people are going Lima. But overall, man, I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to pick Severino, just a little bit more well-rounded. Think, again, he can mix in a couple takedowns, get some ground and pound in. And I think his power could give Lima some problems on the feet. So I'm going to go with Severino. I don't love betting on 21-year-olds, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to get a big plus money odds. So that line's still coming in my favor. I'm going to hold off and wait. But it's looking about 90% that I end up with a Igor bet. Look out for my video Thursday night. I like to do my full card on Tuesday, and then Thursday I like to do like my favorite bets and just a quick picks video. So, excuse me. Look out for that. But I'm gonna go with the underdog here, Igor Severino. I just think he's a little bit more well-rounded. He, 20 years old, but I like those odds. Next up, we got Rendon taking on, this is the hard one of the week, Zheleznyakova. I swear, like, when I was watching the tape, I had this name down. Zheleznyakova? Oh, man. Anyways, Rendon, big underdog. Speaking of odds, I think these are even actually more crazy. At this point, let's take a quick look. Rendon, where's she at? I hate when they split it up like this, but she's a pretty big underdog at this point. Oh, wait. Whoops. Where are we at? Right here. Yeah, plus 190 on a couple books. Plus 190 at Bet Rivers and Unibet. So, man, overall, I get it. I do think Daria is much better striker. She's got way more tools on the feet. I get Rendon only 6-0 at 35 for 135 weight division, whether it's men or women. That's a little sketchy. But, man, I do think this fight's closer than the line suggests, man, because I think this is genuinely grappler versus striker. Now, we are seeing a lot. The judges are not scoring this, control. More and more, you're just seeing they must be really pushing that behind the scenes because they are not scoring control. If you aren't getting damage, your grappling does not matter. So I get Daria being the favorite. I do think she should be the favorite, and I am going to pick Daria. Spoiler alert, because I just think she's got way more tools on the feet, and I don't think Rendon is a great wrestler, but at almost 2-1 dog odds, I've seen Daria taken down by, a so-so regional girl. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but, Daria was piecing her up, but the second she got on her back, it was just, she doesn't have nothing there, man. She's not a grappler. She cannot grapple. Is Rendon some world-class grappler? No, but, she is scrappy. She's the better grappler here, and I've seen her go and push takedowns. So, do I think she's a great wrestler? No. If this was even money, again, I'm going to pick Daria. I'm going to pick her by decision. But, man, I would not be surprised if Montserrat got her down. Man, I honestly wouldn't even be... If she gets her down, she could TKO her. I'm going to pick Rendon by decision. Or I'm going to pick Daria by decision, but I would not be surprised if Montserrat gets her down and is able to just win 2 rounds with the ground and pound or find a finish, man. Because Daria, she is just straight up... I know y'all see the Russian, but she is not a grappler. She cannot... at least unless she's made major improvements. And the fights I've seen, she can't grapple. So, the pick is Daria, but the value... If you're betting over 2-1 on Daria, man, at least pick her by decision. I don't see it. Rendon's tough. I don't see her getting finished unless she really gets sniped. But, the pick's Daria, but if you're betting, it's dog or pass all day, man. Come on. Next up, we got Steven Nguyen taking on Jarno Errens. And I've seen a lot of people kind of on both sides of this. Seems like most people are on Nguyen. I've seen a lot of underdog shots. This line has kind of jumped around a little bit. And I will say, spoiler alert, if I could have got on that plus 175, it would have been a similar situation where I just think, the problem with Errens for me, the reason why right now it's sitting at like plus 150 and I haven't bet it, he just doesn't throw a lot. He doesn't do, he doesn't let his hands go a ton. And I mean, it kind of reminds me of, and this, another fight we were just breaking down, even on the Andre Lima Severino fight. Like, at least I know if I'm taking the underdog on Severino, it's because I wanted to call him, what is it, De Silva? It throws me off because he's got two names. Like, on all the books, he's called Igor De Silva. But anyways, at least I know if I'm taking him as an underdog, he's going to go out there and throw. He's going to come forward. He's going to try to get the finish. He's going to be at least coming forward and throwing. I do think that if Errens doesn't grapple, he's probably in trouble here because he just doesn't throw a lot of volume on the feet. He could definitely catch Nguyen. He could knock him out. I do think Steven, not the greatest striking defense. He is there to be hit, but I do think, he's 30. Both these guys, plenty of time to still make improvements. He is training at Fortis MMA. It's a great gym. I think he should be the favorite because I think he's got plenty of power in his hands. He could definitely catch Jarno, but at the end of the day, this is another one where I can't see, I don't see how you could be betting, over 2-1 on Steven Nguyen. I mean, just really not very well rounded. I just think, the first guy who can come in here and either put him on his back or just not stand in front of him, because in that last fight, who was he fighting on the Contender Series? AJ Cunningham. I knew it was somebody we just broke down. I mean, he just gave him the fight that he needed, just stood in front of him like a heavy bag. I don't think Jarno's going to do that. I think he's going to be willing to, wrestle a little bit. And he's going to be winging bombs when he does throw. The volume does scare me. So I do think, Steven Nguyen is going to be my pick. I'll pick him. I think he probably, I'm going to say he's going to catch Jarno and knock him out. But just because I think, Jarno's going to be forced to fight back. He's going to be forced to give him a fight. And I think, Nguyen could catch him and knock him out. But this line's kind of crazy, man. I don't blame it. If you got plus 175 on Errens, you did your job, man. At this point, I think Nguyen should be minus 130 or something like that, This line is wild. There's several lines on this card like that. But I will pick Steven Nguyen. I know it's going to let down some people. It seems like, a lot of people are on Nguyen, and then you got the diehard underdog picks. But next up, man, we got Miles Johns taking on Cody Gibson. This is interesting because both guys have some red flags. I mean, Cody Gibson, he's getting a little up there for the division. 36 at bantamweight is kind of getting a little up there, and he's obviously had some wear and tear. 9 losses, and he has taken a lot of damage. He's tough as hell, man. He is super tough, but he has had a lot of injuries. Even saw on Ultimate Fighter, I think it was the knee. He had some knee injuries, and then on the Miles John side, he's always had a gas tank issue, man. He gets tired, and now, first he popped for, I think it was Adderall. He didn't have a license for it, 'cause the UFC, if you have the license, will let it go, but pops for that, and then he pops for something a little bit more sinister. It is looking like it could be something. I mean, of course, they ended up letting him off a little bit because they said it was could be a tainted supplement, but hey, at the end of the day, that ain't my job to speculate, but he is, going to be the younger guy. Obviously, at the end of the day, if you're wiki capping this, 13-2, 19-9, at the end of the day, he does find ways to win, but stylistically, Cody Gibson, he does present some problems, even though he's a lanky kind of guy for the division. Going to have a little bit of a height and reach advantage. He's a pretty solid wrestler for being a taller bantamweight. Typically not somebody who's going to get, wrestled super easily. And Miles Johns, could he get a takedown or two? Yes. But I'm not, super confident he's going to be able to grapple for, long periods of time without getting tired. I could see Cody Gibson taking over late if he does try to wrestle too much. And now the layoff and the short notice, coming in short notice when you already are somebody who gasses, just scares me a little. I think this line is kind of dead on. Man, I will pick Miles Johns. I have a lot of underdogs on this card, but I'm going to pick Miles Johns on this one. But overall, there's too many red flags. I think I'm just gonna watch it. I am honestly interested for this fight. I think it's gonna be a fun fight. Miles Johns, probably gonna be getting out volumed. Probably gonna need to mix in a couple takedowns. Could land a big shot and knock Cody Gibson out, but Gibson got a chin on him and he's tough. So it's a close fight, man. This isn't one I can be super confident in. The lines on this card are super close for a reason. So Miles Johns is going to be the pick. I'm going to pick him by decision, but would not be surprised if he gets tired and gets the late finish for Cody Gibson. But pick will be Miles Johns. Let's move on to Ricardo Ramos taking on Julian Erosa. And just wanted to make sure I didn't miss any. No, I did mention Igor Da Silva. I'm waiting on that money line. I'm waiting on that Rendon money line, maybe a Rendon decision. But Ricardo Ramos, Julian Erosa, this is an interesting one. When I first saw the matchup, I was like, is this going to be an underdog shot on Julian Erosa? It's just tough because Erosa has just let me down a lot. I mean, his problem, he really is probably the more skilled guy, probably the better fighter. Dude's a junkyard dog for sure, and he's well-rounded. He's good everywhere. But the problem is, man, and he's even training at a great gym, Extreme Couture, but he just, man, he's there to be hit, and he doesn't have the greatest chin. If you're going to be absorbing the amount of shots every fight that Erosa does, you got to have, like, a really good chin, and he just doesn't. And, we've seen him finish a lot. I think he's been knocked out like 6 or 7 times, and Ricardo Ramos hits hard. And the problem is with Ramos is, does he have the gas tank? That's why. And he doesn't have the greatest volume either. I could see Erosa being the minute winner here. I could see Erosa probably more likely to win in the second and third if it makes it there. I could see him getting a late finish. I think he's the better wrestler. I think the jiu-jitsu is probably pretty close. Both is probably going to matter just who's on top. But I think Erosa's the better wrestler, so he could probably get on top if it gets later on in the fight. I just don't know if he's going to make it there. I think this might be a nice live betting spot. If you see Ramos win the first and land some decent shots, maybe hurt Erosa once or twice. But, Erosa tends to take over as the fight goes on. And Ricardo, I think, he might not have the best gas tank. So I could see Erosa taking over as the fight goes on. But I don't know if I can get to the betting window on a guy who, I've been burned a couple times this year. I've been really on a hot streak. But on some of these fights I've lost, I feel like I've gone with the more skilled guy. And I've kind of picked that archetype a couple times. And now I don't tend to look into this too hard, but I have gotten burned with guys where I knew they weren't the most durable, but I felt like at the end of the day, skills pays the bills. But like, man, if it's a cage fight and you can't take a punch, and again, I do think sometimes the chin stuff gets overrated, and a lot of times it's more the striking defense. Like, if you're there to be hit, the brain can only take so much. But some guys really just have better durability than others. At this point, maybe he doesn't have the best durability. I think it started as a striking defense thing, but now we have seen him be finished a couple times. He's tough as hell, and he's going to fight for your money. And I don't blame you taking big plus money odds, because if you're betting Erosa, you want that plus money odds. He's going to fight for your money. He's got a good gas tank, and he's a minute winner. He's going to throw. He's going to try to, get the win at all costs. So I'm going to pick Ramos. I'm going to pick Ramos by knockout to find the shot. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes late that Rose could start taking over. Let's move on to a fight I do feel is another really fun fight, man. A pretty high-level fight, man. I think Trey Ogden, then again, can I say that this is a guy who did get outstruck by Jordan Levitt, did lose a decision to Jordan Levitt. If you're going to lose to Jordan Levitt, get submitted. But Trey Ogden, man, he surprised me, honestly. The last performance wasn't amazing, but I actually think, the last one was solid. The last, one that went to let's call it like it is, and I'll admit it was a bad bet. I had money on Moda. Bad bet. I got saved. Premature stoppage. Maybe it was a premature stoppage, but he lost. I shouldn't have. I got off on that. You get a lot of bad bouncers. Sometimes you get the good ones. When it comes to lucky, unlucky stuff like that. Got saved there. The Baja Mundes fight, not the greatest performance. He did look good in the Zellhuber fight, and Zellhuber is solid, but, was that a case of just Zellhuber, kind of getting the nerves and, just his green inexperience? I don't know. Ogden has a way of, turning fights into like a slower sparring match. I don't think Kurt Holobaugh, I think, I get it. He's 37 for a lightweight is kind of up there, for sure. But, I think this guy still has some tread on the tires, man. I mean, I know it's Ultimate Fighter, and he had a lot of these guys just so out experienced. But, I think he's pretty well rounded. I think he's dangerous on the feet. I think he's dangerous on the mat. I think he's the more dangerous guy, period, in this fight. I think Trey Ogden could, give him troubles with the jab on the feet. But I think on the mat, Kurt's the much better grappler, honestly. I mean, he doesn't want to get on his back here. He can get a little comfortable there. But I think he's the more dangerous guy there. And I think he's the more dangerous guy on the feet, too. Again, he is a little up there for the division. But, his experience, it seems like he's still got some left. I don't love betting lightweights at that age, but I do feel like, he's kind of got more to prove. I don't know. I have this feeling like he can still give us some more really, good fights. And I think stylistically he could present some problems for Trey. One bet I really liked, and I already bet as soon as it dropped, I took I took Holobaugh scorecards equals no action. I took that at -140. I think that's good value, man. Do I like betting props all the time? That's a little different when it's a no action. It's actually better than a money line technically. Obviously you're missing out on the extra points on the line. Obviously I just mean it's a little safer is what I really meant. But because I do think there's a world where Ogden could land the jab, win a decision, kind of do that thing he does and turn it into a sparring match. But I really do feel like if there's a finish, it's not that Trey, I think he's more dangerous than maybe he's given credit for, but in this fight I really do feel like Kurt's tough, man. I don't see Ogden submitting him. Holobaugh's got good jiu-jitsu, and I think he's got the much heavier hands. I think if there's a finish, it's going to be on the Holobaugh side. If he loses, I think it'll be decision. So -140 on the scorecards, equal no action, Kurt Holobaugh. I like it. I bet it. One of my favorite plays on this card. Let's move on to another fight where haven't bet yet, but I am thinking I will. We got Luis Pajuelo taking on Fernando Padilla. Padilla, my bad. I'm sorry. Someone decided to piss somebody off. This is one I've really been looking at. Padilla, solid, good volume. He's going to be the taller, the longer guy. He's got a good jab. Definitely seems like he started fighting a long time ago, but seems like he has kind of, grown into his body a little bit more. I think he's got a little bit more power now. He used to be, people said that would be, he didn't have enough power to get people off him. And I think, a guy like Pajuelo would have gave him even more trouble before. I think Padilla is solid, and I get why he's the favorite. I do, because I do think Padilla, or Pajuelo, their names are throwing me off. Pajuelo, he's a little bit reckless. It's kind of like the Igor stylistic matchup with Lima. But I just feel like, again, this is kind of similar in the sense of, I think Luis, I think his pressure, the fact that he's willing to get into the pocket and just exchange, I think he's got the heavier hands. And I think he's willing to throw and get in the pocket and just let him go. And I think, he's a tough guy for Padilla, because Padilla wants it to be pretty. He wants to sting you with a jab, keep you on the outside. I'm not saying he's not capable of getting, both these guys are definitely tough, but that's just in his ideal realm. Maybe he can, work off his jab, and I do think he's the more technical striker, the more polished guy on the feet. But I feel like this is going to be a 15-minute fight on the feet. If there's a takedown, I think it would be Pajuelo. But I don't think there probably will be. I think mostly they're going to be, exchanging. I think Fernando's going to be playing off the outside, and Pajuelo's got to get in the pocket and, land the big shots. The volume is going to be on the side of Padilla, and I do think that most likely this is going to go to decision. Unless Pajuelo catches him with something or runs into something, his style, he is willing to get hit, and he is there to get hit. But I think money line side, man, I don't know if I'm a little biased to just straight up make up. I feel like the pick, I could, bitch out and take Padilla as the pick and just say the value on Pajuelo. But you know what? In this for this case, I'm gonna straight up outright pick Pajuelo. I think he can catch Padilla, man. I think he can catch him. I think he can land the better shots. I think his style could give Padilla some trouble here. I'm gonna say he gets the win. I'm gonna say he wins by decision, but I wouldn't be shocked if he got the finish. I just think Padilla is pretty tough. I think he could, make it to the bell, but I think Padilla could drop him at some point, could hurt him. And I want to see a little bit more from Padilla before I'd be wanting to bet almost 2-1. So haven't bet it yet. But I'm gonna pick Pajuelo. It really just feels like a 50-50 fight. So if it was even money, I wouldn't be betting it. And even like you would think if I'm picking an underdog, I definitely got money on him. But this really, I like to at least feel like, when I make that pick, it's just because it genuinely is 50-50. Like, I think it is a coin toss fight. Padilla maybe keeps on the outside with the jab and just snipes him. But I wouldn't be shocked, man. I really think this is a coin toss. I'm going to grab my balls. I'm going to pick Pajuelo. I'm going to probably most likely end up with some money on him. I do wish I would have got that. I think some people got like plus 170. That would have been lovely. But I don't know. I feel a little sketchy. Going after it. I think it's like plus 140. Might still be plus 145 on some books. I don't know. But I'm going to pick Pajuelo. Let's see if I end up putting some money on him. Next up, we got a fun fight here. Billy Quarantillo taking on Yusuf Zalal. Billy Q, man, big fan. He comes forward. He throws tons of volume. Yusuf Zalal, he did get cut from the UFC. He's on a good run, all finishes. He's actually finished everybody outside of the UFC and then no finishes in the UFC. He's pretty well-rounded, wants to, kind of circle around the outside, makes in a takedown or two, and win. He's a good minute winner, typically. He doesn't throw the most volume, but typically, he's pretty solid point fighter. Thing is, like, Billy Q, I really feel like the way to beat this guy is to either have big power and catch him and knock him out because he is hittable, or to wrestle him, because his takedown defense isn't the best. But I think if Zalal doesn't wrestle heavy here, I don't think he's going to cover this price tag. Even being an underdog, I think this Billy will look like a bigger favorite because, he's just going to throw so much more. I think he's going to win these rounds clear because even if he gets countered, gets hit, I don't think Zalal's got really enough firepower to, like, get Billy off of him. I think Billy's, especially knowing Zalal's taking this fight on short notice, I just think Billy's the side. I don't think this fight's gonna play out too much on the mat. And again, like, the judges aren't scoring, just controlled. You gotta get damage. So Zalal probably will take him down a couple times, but because Billy does get taken down, but I don't think he's gonna do enough damage to win the round when Billy's backing him up and throwing. Again, like, not only the damage, but I really feel like the judges are really, like, the style right now is volume and damage, like. Damage, but also, like, be the guy who's outworking the other one on the feet. If you're doing more, if you have a style that's come forward and throw volume, like, you're gonna do pretty well the way the judges are scoring these fights right now. I don't know if the UFC's in their ear or what, but they are really trying to hone in on that. So, anyways, I took Billy minus 150. I saw some people got like minus 135. Congrats. I mean, well done. I really think that cashes. I think Billy is going to win by decision here. Zalal is tough, but I'm going to pick Billy by decision. I have faded Zalal a good bit in his UFC career. Hey, so maybe I'm biased, but I got Billy. This next fight, one I'm less confident in, man. This seems to be the fight that everyone's talking about. Peyton Talbott, a big prospect. People are trying to give him the Sean O'Malley comparison. I don't think he's on Sean's level, spoiler alert. But Cameron Saaiman, good prospect too. Obviously coming off a loss to Christian Rodriguez. Christian Rodriguez did miss weight, as always, by like 5 pounds in that division. That was the one that they forced Christian to go up to 145. And he had that controversial fight last week. We won't get into it. Better time for different place. Peyton Talbott, though, I could see this fight playing out like a Walmart version of Sean versus Cheeto. I do feel like Peyton is the more polished striker. He's going to have the height and reach. They're probably a slightly bigger guy. And I do think Cameron, like, he's probably the better grappler, but can you really trust him to come in here and really wrestle heavy? We've seen Peyton get taken down. We've seen him get out grappled. But Overall, you see Cameron typically likes to strike. I think he's more of a striker. He is 23 as well. Like, I don't know if I want to trust him to fight as an underdog, or to fight to a game plan. At least you are getting the underdog odds, so I don't blame people betting him because I do think the path is there. If Cameron comes out and wrestles, this fight's going to be a lot closer. But if it's a 15-minute fight on the feet, I think unless he really catches Peyton, I think Peyton will probably just, again, land the more volume. I think he's going to be winning the minutes. So if it goes to decision and they play out mostly on the feet, then it's probably going to be Talbott landing the more volume, winning the rounds to win the decision. Saaiman needs to mix in some wrestling. I'm not saying he needs to come in with a singlet on, but if he doesn't at least threaten the takedown and it's just a kickboxing match, I think it's going to play out a little bit like Cheeto Sean. Could Cheeto have caught him? Could Saaiman catch him? Yes, but the minute winning is going to be going to Peyton. Again, he is not Sean O'Malley. People need to chill out a little bit. This guy has a lot to prove. But I do remember it wasn't too long ago that Sean had a lot to prove, and, he did end up proving it. Do I think he's going to go the same way? No, but this is a winnable matchup. The UFC are giving him a winnable fight, even though I think Saaiman is tough. I think stylistically, I'm yet to see that this guy's going to really come in and shoot a bunch of takedowns, and if he doesn't, I gotta ever so slightly lean with Peyton. But if I got crazy odds on Saaiman, I would take him. But overall, I think this is just going to be a show me fight. I want to see more out of these prospects. I really do like both these guys. They're young. They got plenty of time to grow and get better. I hope they don't take a ton of damage because I think both guys have a future here. Would be tough to see Saaiman take 2 losses, but overall, I'm gonna pick Peyton by decision. I am eyeing the line though, because if you're gonna give me like plus 150 on Saaiman, I might have to just take it because I do feel like there is holes there to exploit on the Peyton side. But let's move on. Peyton by decision overall, gun to my head. We move on to a fight in Edmund Shahbazyan taking on AJ Dobson. I do feel like this line is pretty justified. I think AJ, could he go out here again? This is kind of one where, AJ, he probably could grapple a little bit. I think, Edmund we've seen. First of all, I know he's been on a rough run. Only win lately been Dolce Lumumbulla, who I'm not super high on, but he is a dangerous guy. But, my God, Derek Brunson, that was a tough matchup coming off Brad Tavares. I know they thought they'd clip him, but, if you don't get Derek out of there, he's got a gas tank and he can wrestle a little bit and do some ground and pound. Jack Hermanson, my God, coming off a loss when he was that young. I mean, this was 3 years ago. He was 23. And then you give him a Mavov 2-fight losing streak, and he's 24, and you give him a Mavov. Then they finally give him a bounce back fight, even though it's Lumumbulla could catch you in the first. Then they give him an Anthony Hernandez. Oh, you have a problem getting tired and getting wrestled? Here's the best guy at getting you tired and getting wrestled, or wrestling you. Odd matchmaking. You'd think the UFC be trying to build him. I swear, they just completely spoiled the Edmund Shahbazyan show. I mean, bad matchmaking. I don't know if he pissed somebody off or what, but at least he's over at Extreme Couture now. Much better gym. We don't have to hear about head movement. Overall, I think he's got AJ covered here, man. He should win this fight. If he can't beat AJ Dobson, man, it sucks, but because I think this kid really had potential, and he's still young, but it's going to be tough to come back from, 5th loss, be 1-5, and then your last 6. It's he's so young. He's still got so much time, but especially if he were to take a lot of damage. I mean, AJ is not super dangerous typically, but, I wouldn't be shocked if it goes late if he could take Edmund. I mean, we've just seen time and time again. You got to think they're working on it at Extreme Couture. He's at a good gym. He's plenty young, especially as a middleweight. He's got plenty of time, but, the gas tank, from what we've seen, it's been an issue. The takedown defense is decent early, but as the fight goes on, he starts getting taken down. So, I'm going to pick Edmund Shahbazyan. I think in the first round, man, I think he knocks him out. I think Edmund is going to knock AJ out, or he could latch up a choke if AJ gets desperate with the wrestling early. But if that fight goes on, it's going to get sketchy. And honestly, I need to see more from Edmund before I'm willing to lay big old chalk on him like that. But skills-wise, I think he is a much more skilled fighter out of it too. So I will pick Edmund, first round KO, no bet from me. Co-main event. Man, we got a odd co-main event because you think, oh, they're throwing the heavyweights on there for a banger, but it's like if Carl Williams, the big favorite, gets what he wants, it's not going to be a banger. He wants to get on top of Justin Tafa and lay on him. The thing that's kind of scary, it's like when I see this fight, I'm like, okay, Carl Williams, not a super dangerous guy for a heavyweight, big, wants to get on top of you, kind of just hold you down, mix in some ground and pound. Not a super dangerous guy for a heavyweight. Justin Tafa, super dangerous early, gets tired, doesn't have the best grappling. He just pulled out of a fight a couple of weeks ago with a knee injury. So do I want to take him as a big underdog? Typically, I mean, this is a dog or pass fight. It's short and sweet. I'm not betting Carl Williams. I mean, I think he wins this fight. He's probably gonna win by decision. Just grapple Justin Tafa, but like this dude's so hittable. He's so lumbering on the feet. I would not be shocked if Tafa just clips him in the first minute and knocks him out. But overall, Carl Williams probably going to wrestle him. The line's pretty accurate. I mean, if it was like plus 250, I would just be forced to. But like, I don't really want to bet on the Tafa brothers, especially like maybe once the props drop. I'm sure it's going to be not great, but if Justin Tafa's price was decent for first round KO, maybe I think that's his path to victory. But this guy just pulled out of a fight and his brother had to step in because of like a knee injury. That was like, what, a month ago? I mean, give me Carl Williams by decision. Justin Tafa is tough, but no bet for me on this one. Main event. We got Amanda Ribas taking on Rose Namajunas. Two girls who are really typically strawweights coming up to flyweight. They have both fought here before. Rose just fought Minot Farrow, and that was a good fight, man. Competitive. Gave Farrow a run for her money, and that's a big girl, a dangerous girl. She struck with her, and I can't remember what the injury was, but she break her arm or she broke something in that fight. Still fought. It was a good decision. A good, well fought fight. To decision. Amanda Ribas, her thing is the durability. If you go through her losses, she is undersized at 125 typically, but I don't think Rose is much bigger. She's probably a little bit bigger, but not much bigger. And a lot of times it's these bigger strawweights that have kind of finished Ribas. Kaylin Chukagian, that's a pretty big girl compared to Ribas. And I think that fight was on like short notice too. Macy Barber, like that's the big girl, and she hits hard compared to Ribas. Marina Rodriguez, she's a pretty big strawweight. Even though that's a strawweight, it's still pretty big. I think, this at least like they match up pretty, well, size-wise. I get why Rose is the favorite. The thing is, Ribas' durability hasn't been there. We've seen Rose, she's got pretty decent power for 115. We haven't seen it as much, obviously, at 125, but I'm sure it'll still be there. The problem is with Rose, do you want to the line isn't that anymore, man. What is it now? Let's see it. It's gotten pretty crazy. On some books, it was like 275 earlier, and honestly, it probably should have just jumped on. I was thinking, okay, it's going to keep going crazy, I guess. I'll wait. Yeah, it was like minus 260. Oh, wow, minus 280 at one point. Did that say 295? 295 on FanDuel at one point. Wow, I guess I kind of missed it because, look, I get it. The pick is Rose. I'm going to pick her probably decision, but I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, it's a Ribas fight. It could be a TKO, but, man, there's too many red flags with Rose. Like, where's her head at? I know she's only 31, but, this game, it's not always just about age, and it's not always just about wear and tear. Sometimes it's also, mental. She had her run. She had her champ run. Now she's coming off 2 losses. I get there were, good fights, but... the Carlo one was a good fight, but it was close. And the last one was a good fight, and it was also close. I think she should beat Ribas. I think she's a better striker. But, if she comes in there and just stares at her, I don't think she will. I think that was a one-off. I think that was just a weird fight. And she showed that, she's fighting again. And that last fight, she took... That was impressive in a loss. That was impressive. So the pick is Rose. More durable, probably the better... technical fighter everywhere, but Ribas is going to come out there. We know she's going to show up to fight. We know she's going to be throwing. We know that, she's got some decent subs too. Rose has been subbed. if this line gets crazy, I mean, if you got, I don't know, man, if you got plus 200, like, congrats. And I mean, I'm watching this for me, this has got to be dog or pass. I'm not paying 2-1 on Rose, let alone 275. That's insane. That's wild. You don't parlay Rose, man. Even if she wins, like, I'm sorry, I gotta say it. That's not a good bet. But hey, do your thing. I'm a will pick Rose, so like when she wins, don't come to me and be like, oh, blah blah blah. It's like, I don't know, man. Laying minus 275 long term on Rose, that's probably gonna eat you. But I will pick Rose. I'll pick her by decision. I'm gonna pick Carl Williams by decision. I'm gonna pick Edmund Shahbazyan by knockout. Peyton Talbott by decision. Billy Q by decision. Oh, that's a decent amount of decisions. Luis Pajuelo by decision as well. Wow. Kurt Holobaugh, I'm going to pick him by knockout. I don't know if I specified that by that or sub. The sub is live, but I will pick him by knockout. I'll pick Ricardo Ramos knockout. I'm going to pick Miles Johns by decision. I'm going to pick Stephen Nguyen by knockout. I'm going to pick Darnya. I'm not even going to try to say it again. Daria Miss Z by decision. I'm going to pick Igor Severino or De Silva, I should say. I'm gonna pick him. I'm gonna pick him by decision, but it could be a finish. And I'm gonna pick Mick Parkin by decision as well. Not as many finishes as I picked last card. And I did pick a lot of underdogs. I think it could be another underdog Parkin card. But so far I have locked in Kurt Holobaugh scorecards equals no action at minus 140, and I locked in Billy Q minus 150. I might only have 2 bets locked in, but I have bets that 90% I'm going to be locking in. It's just the lines coming my way, so why wait or why rush? The Igor De Silva or Severino, I'm going to be 90% betting him. I'm watching that line. It's been moving my direction, so why rush? Same thing with Rendon. I mean, again, I picked Daria, but I think that line's way off, so Rendon by decision or the money line. I'm looking at that. Stay tuned to my Thursday video, the quick picks and bets. Pajuelo, I wish I would have got him at plus 175, but it seems to be working right back. So I'm going to try to get on that if it gets big. I'm looking at the Saaiman fight, but I haven't bet that. I picked Talbott, but I do think, it's a 50-50 fight. Maybe 51-52% Peyton. So, let's see if that line, people love Peyton, so maybe that line will get, more wide. I wish I would have got that big old crazy money on Ribas, but it does seem like that line's creeping back. It dropped, then it came back, now it's going back down. If I can get a good line, I mean, again, I think Rose wins, but I don't know, some of these lines, like, this is one of those where I think you got to pick your dogs. I did lay the chalk on Billy Q, but I think overall you got to pick the dogs. So that's where my head's at so far. It's still only Tuesday. We're going to wait for those props to drop. Make sure you leave a like on the video. Let me know in the comments what bets you got locked in, what your most confident picks are. Click subscribe. It's like 80% of my viewers are not subscribed. How dare you? Click subscribe. I appreciate you. I'll see you Thursday for my quick picks and bets. Until then, man, make some smart bets. I would say enjoy the fights, but I'm going to see you before then. So make some smart bets. Don't just, listen to me and just do that. No, hear me out. Maybe I like what he says. No, I don't like what he says. I'm going to stick with my guns, whatever. Good luck. I will see you Thursday. Until then, peace.